Hey, welcome. Your practice today is a yin yoga class for the shoulders and the hips. You should have a couple blocks and a couple blankets and a bolster handy. And we'll start in a seated position, easy seated pose with a simple cross leg. And we'll twist off to the right just to start some gentle movement and warm up a little bit. You're welcome to sit on a blanket here if that's more comfortable for your hips. Gather your breath in with your belly. Let it out with your belly. And then we'll switch sides, release that side twist, pause in the center. And from your easy seated pose, twist to the other side, opposite hand to knee. And again, gathering your breath in with your belly, letting your belly press that breath out. So this practice is a series of longer holds and some stretches. And part of this practice is letting go and releasing muscular effort. So let's take a forward fold after you twist, come back to center in that easy seated position. And then you can slide your hands out in front of you and see here where you can let go of any muscular effort that isn't necessary. Because part of yin is also actively stretching. So it's not restorative, it's an active practice. Right, and then let's come back up to seated and switch the crossing of your ankles. And then take a side bend so you can slide left hand out past your hip to the left of your mat, and then your right arm up overhead. Look up to your right arm. Press down into your right sit bone. Stretch the right side of your body out. And just roll that down into the forward fold again. Breathing with your belly. Trying to find another area that you could let go of. Some tension, some gripping. And then roll back up to seated slowly. And stretch your right arm off to the right side of your mat. And then left arm up overhead. Stretch out to the side. And open your ribs up to the ceiling. Open your heart up to the ceiling. And keep pressing through that left sit bone. Finding the softness with the strong foundation. So the softness amid the strong foundation and the effort to hold yourself here. And then roll this down to the floor. So roll your left arm down, take your right arm forward into an easy seated forward fold. And then inhale, slide yourself back up to seated. Then we're going to take some eagle arms here. Right arm under your left arm. Wrap up your elbows. If the eagle arm setup is too difficult for your shoulders or too tight, you could always grab opposite shoulders with your hands. Or the top arm, which would be your left arm in this situation, could straighten out. But lift your elbows, press your thumbs away from your face, and see if you can pull back in with your ribs. And release that. And seated position, take a moment and switch the other side. So left arm under your right arm. Again, you could grab opposite shoulders or straighten out straighten out your right arm in this situation, in this setup. Keep pressing down with your sit bones. So it's just a brief little stretch in eagle. We will revisit eagle again later on in the class. Take another big inhale here and see what you can let go of with the exhale. And then softly release your arms. Rest your hands on your thighs or your knees. Take a breath, maybe sigh it out even. And then we'll set up for the first posture that we're going to move into, supported fish pose. So I'm going to use a block and a blanket. I'm actually going to end up using 2 blocks. And I'm going to situate the block under my shoulder blades to the height that gives me a back bend that's not going to hurt my low back. So you can test this out first. And then the second block is going to come under my head because that blanket was just not doing it. So I'm just going to shove this block under here. And then the block under my head is going to be on a lower level than the block under my heart because I do want this to be a back bend and a very gentle opening in the throat. You might need to take a few moments to set yourself up here. We will be here for just about 3 minutes or 4 minutes. And it's usually the duration of each pose in this practice. Once you're finding that you're comfortably situated, just really bring that attention to your breath. You can close your eyes down if you have a blanket to cover up with or eye pillow to put over your eyes. It might be nice. And as you breathe here, you can feel your back pressing in to that block. You can feel as you're breathing here the gravity and the weight of the bones releasing, dropping some of this physical muscular effort so that you can really feel a stretch here in the upper back and the front chest area, and maybe even the front shoulder area. So your hands are heavy, your arms are heavy. And so your head supported by the block, comfortably resting on the block, not pushing in, not digging. And as you notice more effort letting go, see if you can feel a softer rise in the chest, a more spacious expanse in the ribs. And just follow the path of your breath here for the next few moments, staying in tune with that, the breath in your body. Start to move your feet and your toes. And you can take your feet back up under your knees. Just lift your hips a little bit and then set your hips down to come up to seated. So if you give yourself a little lift in the hips and then lower down, and you'll be up in staff pose as you pull yourself up off the blocks. Just take a moment there in staff pose. Let the back bend release. And then we'll come over into our next posture, Anahatasana, heart opening pose. You can move your blocks out of the way and then take the blanket to the top end of your mat. And this can go in a few different places. You could have the blanket under your forehead or under your chest. We're going to start in tabletop and then walk your arms towards the top of your mat so your chest can lower down either to the blanket or the floor, or 2 blankets, right? So as many blankets as you need to support your chest here. And then you could also take your forehead to the blanket instead. Wherever you are, though, you want your knees to be under your hips because being here for a few moments is going to be really uncomfortable if your knees are way far back behind your hips. Right? So take your time to settle in. And then once you do, again, you're just going to focus on the breath and trying to allow some muscles to let their work slide away. Let go of the work, let go of the extra physical strain. So that we can, here in this posture, you're gonna feel things in a lot of these postures. And so the goal of this practice is to gently stress the tissues so that they can hydrate and regain retain their health and elasticity. And as you're in this pose, if you feel like you need to resituate, please do, especially in this posture with the shoulders being in such a precarious position. In this posture, we're really focusing on the heart area. The name of this pose is Anahatasana, heart pose. So really trying to surrender to gravity here, but still let your body be held by the earth, feeling the support of your body on the earth, and then feel your body just expand into that support beneath you. All right, start to walk yourself back up into a tabletop position, and then tuck your toes under your heels. So tuck your toes under so that you can come up and sit on your heels. Just take a moment there to pause and stretch out. If you need to pause the video for a few moments before moving on to the next posture, please do that. And then we're going to set the next pose up. So get a big blanket, and we're going to take a shoulder stretch here. So it's going to be a pronated shoulder stretch. So I just have a blanket underneath my hips for extra padding and warmth. Right arm is going to go across and under your left arm, and then your left arm is going to come up and pillow your forehead. And then you're going to try to kind of pull that right shoulder over a little bit so that your left ribs are not lifting up to the ceiling. And see if you can relax your legs. This is a great place to feel your belly expand and press into the floor with your breath. And close your eyes down here. And just visualize the shoulder muscles and joint and tissues and the feeling that you have in that area. Visualize that, the sensation. As you breathe up into your back, you might feel an intensity in the stretch or the sensation because there is some pulling and stretching happening just simply by the breath moving with its generous effort. And again, just letting the ground and the support really take up the space that your body needs. Gives you all the space. The support gives you all the space you need, and you can take up all of the space that you need here. Great. Slide that arm out. Stretch both arms overhead. Rest your forehead on the floor for just a moment. And then you can come up and stretch your left arm now across and under your right arm. Pillow your forehead with your right forearm. And again, you're going to try to just level out your shoulders here. So try not to let your right side lift up too high. You might feel a difference between sides. One side might feel a little bit more intense than the other. And just really try to breathe around that intensity to soften the muscular pushback. So if there is some muscular resistance in your body, just try to go in there and see where it is and understand it. Not so much fix it, just start to understand that these things happen in your body. You know, sometimes you want to go deeper and fold more, and the muscles kick back. They say no. So if you can use your breath here just to soften that muscle, soften that shoulder girdle, soften your neck, your forehead, your face. You never know where you're gripping. Take the next few moments here to check in with any areas that might be gripping and practicing that letting go of the muscular contraction of things that don't need to be engaged at this point. As we get into more of these poses, the thoughts might start to pop up a little bit more. The mind might start to wander. The more we practice this, the more comfortable you get with these postures. Then the more the mind can come up and go, chatter, chatter, chatter. So here, just watch for these moments and notice when you're starting to experience feelings of maybe boredom or frustration, maybe impatience. Let them happen. And then with your breath, let them go. All right, start to slide that arm out from under and just take a brief moment in Sphinx pose with your elbows under your shoulders. Pull your chest through your shoulders. Big breath. And then take your hands up next to your ribs so you can press back up into a kneeling position and then sweep around into a seated position. So this next pose, we're going to take, have maybe 2 blankets. I'm going to keep the one big blanket under my, it's just like a secondary mat there, just because this posture kind of digs into, your feet will dig into the floor. And then I'm going to take a second blanket and fold it up a little thicker and put it under my hips. Gomukhsan. And we're going to start with the right leg on top of the left leg. And this just by itself is a tricky pose. So let's stay here for just a moment and notice if you need to take any modifications, if you need to slide your left leg over a little bit or put something between your 2 knees. And then we're going to add in eagle arms with the left arm wrapping under your right arm. And again here, if you need the modifications, you can grab opposite shoulders or you can straighten out your right forearm. I'm going to be here for a few moments, and this gets really challenging for me. So if you're experiencing pain, definitely know when to come out of it. So know how to play your edge, know your limits, and know when you've come to the point where you feel enough, and then you can release your arms. And it probably feels fine right here, but after a few moments, it gets a little challenging. Just take a moment to check in where your foundation is, where you're sitting. So feel your weight balanced in your two sitting bones. Ribs are not extending forward. Low back is soft and neutrally curved with its natural curvature. And you're pulling your chest through your shoulders, not rounding your upper back excessively. Really good time here to count on your breath. It's probably starting to get a little itchy right now. So also another good place to notice those moments of boredom, frustration, and impatience. Let those feelings, let those moments arise and let them go. And just when you think you can't stay a moment longer, you've got another breath in you. All right, just release your arms and let your hands rest on your ankles and just let that fall away. It feels so good to come out of those things, but just notice the space here. Right, and then we're going to switch sides. So before we do, take your hands back to the floor behind you so that you can unwrap your legs, place your feet on the floor, and take a gentle windshield wiper to one side, up, and then over to the other side. Go slowly because you might really feel the posture after getting out of it rather than when you were in it. You can take a little hug into the knees. You're always welcome to pause this video and take any additional stretches that you need between postures, between sides. Okay. So we'll switch up legs. Second side, the left leg is on top of the right leg. And again, just take a moment here to be in the leg variation and make sure that you're confident and safe in your hips and knees, that you can stay here for a few moments. Situate your feet as needed, pull them out, pull them in. Maybe pull the left leg over a little bit, stack your knee differently. And then as you're ready to add in those arms, the right arm under the left arm. So here I'm showing you one of the modifications to straighten out your left arm or bend it and wrap up those forearms. Again, lift your elbows and press your thumbs away from your face. Draw your ribs in and really feel that weight settle back into your two sit bones. Something that will help take your attention off your arms later on once they start to burn. Noticing where your shins are connecting to the floor, your feet, your hips, your thighs, and just closing down those eyelids and taking in a visual of your foundation, your support, and getting taller from those points of contact. Getting taller with your breath and your resiliency here. And then again, when you're in this posture with this specific arm wrapping, notice, check in. Where's my edge? Where am I pushing myself too far? Is the outcome gonna be worth the push, the shove? And notice what sensations you're drawn to in your body. if you're drawn to those intense sensations, or if you prefer to feel nothing. That's just something interesting to sit and think about with your breath. All right, then let go of that arm, stretch, let your hands rest on your ankles for a moment. A couple breaths here. And then again, you can take your hands behind you to the floor, unwrap your legs, feet to the floor, and a windshield wiper to the left, windshield wiper to the right. Go slowly, really feel that posture as you're coming out of it and recovering from it. It's my favorite thing about this practice is I can feel it afterwards more than sometimes while I'm in it. Again, if you need to pause the video and take a moment to stretch, downward facing dog, any kind of sitting, and then we'll move on to the next posture when you're ready. So we're gonna come into a reclining position, and I'm just gonna keep the blanket there. It's just cozy. I like it. Again, I like to be warm. So I just lifted my right leg and I crossed my right ankle over the back of my right ankle over the top of my left ankle. And then I'm going to reach my arms above head and I'm going to grab my right elbow or triceps with my left hand. Then I'm going to use my shoulder blades to crawl to the left in a reclining side bend. And then your feet can lift and move over to the left. So your right leg is crossed over the top of your left leg, the back of your right leg over the front of your left ankle, and you're pushing through with your left foot. So activate your left leg and press down with your left foot to pull that right foot over. And then use your left arm to gently guide your right arm over. And again, you can use your shoulder blades to crawl more to the left. Once you get settled in, take a few moments to breathe right into the right side of your body. We won't be here too long. This is just an easy little stretch here between deeper postures. But keep that left leg active and keep your right side open. Trying not to overwork your left side here too much. So your breath even could move into that left side to soften it. And then we'll come out of this stretch and we'll take the other side stretch. So again, this is just a nice little in-between stretch that I like to get, especially after that intense eagle arm that you were in. So just for a moment here, if you want to take a constructive rest pose to let your spine neutralize, then your left leg comes up and over your right leg. So you're just crossing at the ankles. And then you're going to grab your left upper arm with your right hand. Use your shoulder blades to crawl yourself over to the right. And then take your left foot over by pulling your right foot and pulling the left foot over. And then really activate your right leg and press down through your right foot, stretching long into the left side of your body. And then use your breath here to soften the right side and lengthen the left side. So maybe on that inhale, you can feel the right side activate just to where it needs to be activated so it doesn't go into crampville. And then your exhale elongates the left side, lengthening and softening. You can feel that stretch in the outer hip, left side of your body, left armpit. right, and then you can let go of that stretch and come back to center again. Take your feet to the floor. Little constructive rest pose. Big breath in, maybe sigh it out here. And even here, what can you let go of, right? In the in-between points, what can you let go of? All right, so we're gonna move into the next position, the next posture. So I'm gonna fold this blanket up into about 4 folds to make it a bolt, like a little mini bolster. And then I'm gonna grab my second blanket and a couple blocks. I made the mistake of waiting and grabbing the blocks after I got set up, so get your blocks handy now. We're taking bound angle, Baddha Konasana. And currently, this is one of my least favorite postures because of my ankle. And so this was actually really helpful for my ankle to stay in a longer stretch because my tendency is to try to abandon because I get impatient, I get frustrated, and I get bored. Those 3 things that can pop up in this practice very commonly pop up. So I've got my sitting bones on the blanket and I've got my feet on the blanket. So the reason I've got these 2 blankets, I just like this little bridge support. This is supportive for my feet because the hard floor hurts my feet. It also gives me a chance to let my hips sink lower in the blanket than my feet. And so the blanket and its ability to kind of take some shape of your body, it allows the shape and the depth for your body to go where it needs to go. So it's not a hard block or a hard floor. And then I've got a couple blocks under my head. Loop your hands around the block and just kind of hook your fingers, relax your shoulders and your elbows, and your back is just gently rounded here over your body. You're not forcing your knees down. If your knees need support under them because this really feels uncomfortable, like they're pulling down, then put a couple extra blocks under your thighs, 1 under each leg. And try to get your forehead to a point here where you can rest comfortably, close your eyes down, and then just really feel a little bit more of a restorative approach to this. There's definitely still action, there's definitely a stretch. There's definitely still awareness, but softening more over your blocks and blankets and letting that support really take your body weight here. And then again, notice here where the sensations are in your low back, in your hips. And notice if you're really attached to those sensations or averse to those sensations. You can adjust this posture at any point in time. Let's take just a few more rounds of breath here, focusing on simply your breath and letting go. All right, start to lift up from this forward fold. And then just lift your knees in. So grab your feet under with your hands, squeeze your knees up, and then lean off to your left knee with your left ear. And then come up to seated. And then lean off to your right knee with your right ear, still squeezing those knees up towards your shoulders. Good. And then come back up to seated. All right. And let go of those legs, stretch your feet out. You can come off those blankets if you've got the blanket set up. Okay, and then we're going to take this into the supine version of bound angle, so Supta Baddha Konasana. You can definitely use the blankets here if you want to, again, pad up your mat. So have a blanket out over your whole mat, or I'm going to have a blanket here for under my head. I'm going to put my feet on the blocks. I do have 2 blocks just so that my feet can both rest comfortably on them. And then you can lie back and get your head comfortably situated on that blanket. Something to keep in mind here is if you have a blanket that's folded up, a really neat trick, I love this, is to just kind of scrunch up little bits of, it's like an accordion style wrapping or folding. And then you can scrunch up some of the blanket and then have a little neck pillow. And then the rest of the blanket is your head pillow. So get yourself cozy here. Let your knees fall out to the side. You're not pressing them down. This may start to get a little achy in your inner hips. I think halfway through I started to get a little crampy and achy, so you may have to adjust. Something that will help is scooching your glutes away from you and just kind of smoothing out your low back a little bit more so that the pelvis is in more of a tilt, a posterior tilt rather than anterior tilt. This one's really about surrendering and letting go. If you're cold here or if you feel exposed, put a blanket over yourself for more comfort and grounding. I think that's a really important thing to remember, is that our emotional bodies here feel the practice. And it's important to take care of the emotional body just as much as the physical body. All right, lift your knees up, feet on the blocks. Just let your feet rest on the floor for a few moments. Take them off the blocks, and then your knees can come together because your feet are probably wider than your hips at this point. And then here, a couple windshield wipers, one to the one side and then off to the other side. All right, the next posture we're going to move into, we're going to use the blocks, but so you might want to have them up by your hips. We're actually going to first, before we get into the next pose, take a couple little stretches here. So one knee to chest, Apanasana, one leg, and then the other knee to the chest, Apanasana, one leg. And then both knees to chest. And we're going to be here for a few moments in a nice hold in this wind relieving pose. So while you're here, it's a hug. Just that's it. Hug yourself. And what emotions do you experience or thoughts do you think when you hug somebody else? And take a moment here just to let those things flow in and out as you hug your knees, your body. Give yourself a big hug and practice those positive, loving emotions here for yourself. Slowly start to push your knees away from you, hands to knees, and then straighten your legs up one at a time towards the ceiling. And lower your feet down to the floor. You're going to lift your hips up now to put either 1 or 2 blocks under your sacrum. And you might just stay there for a few moments to get out of that intense hip flexion that you were just in and that long hold in Apanasana. So you're welcome to pause in a bridge pose, pause the video, and then you can move into legs up in the air. I'm actually going to take this blanket out from under my head now because there's too much of an angle and jamming in my neck. So you can set yourself up as you're comfortable, as what's best for you. Maybe a blanket just under your shoulders and not under your head. Actively holding your legs up here, trying to push your feet back away from your face so that you can actually feel the weight settle down into those blocks on the back of your sacrum. So you shouldn't feel like the weight is in the low back. The weight is in the heaviness. The heaviness of your legs is down into the glutes. And then with as much relaxation as you can in a posture where you have to actively hold your legs up, try to soften those muscles and let go of the extra work. This is all about balance, this one. Notice where you're overworking and underworking. And as you're here, you might start to feel cool sensations in your toes. You can always wiggle your toes around to bring some warmth back to them, to bring the blood back to them. Really breathing from your belly up into your heart, moving that lymph around. This is so good for immune system, circulatory system. So just focusing on your breath here for the next few moments. And again, what sensation are you chasing or avoiding? You start to wiggle your toes and take your feet down to the floor. Give yourself just a moment to rest on the blocks. You can lift your hips and remove 1 block and come down to that first block if you were on 2. And then take the second block out. You might just need a moment here in constructive rest to let your back relax. So the next pose we're going to move into is a twist. You're going to reach down with your left hand for your right foot, and then your right hand to your left foot. So this is called cat pulling its tail. So you can pull your right foot up, draw your left shoulder to the floor, and then your right hand is taking that left leg off to the side. Your hips have rolled over to the outer right hip. And you can put a blanket under your head here, or you could put a blanket under your hips if you need that extra padding. You may need your left leg to be bent. It might be able to be straight. You might need some time to set this pose up. So again, pause the video and take your time here. And then once you get there, you're going to notice, for me, what I noticed most was my grip. My hands got tired from holding my feet. So at any point, just let go. You don't have to hold your feet. And just notice the breath moving into your twisting torso. How the shape of your body affects your breath. And then here in a twist, this is a really good place, especially for me personally. I love to chase sensation here. Twists for me seem easy. So when I don't feel a big immediate gratification in a posture, I wonder, am I doing it right? So it's not about form, it's not about shape. This is about sensation. And sometimes the sensation is on the very lowest end of the scale, and that's when it's the best. So it doesn't always have to be intense and painful. So let some of that go here. And we're only in this twist for a few moments, so you can let go of your feet and hug your knees back into your chest, rolling back over to the neutral spine in the middle of your mat. You can resituate yourself if you feel like you got a little crooked on your mat there. Take a big stretch overhead if it feels good. Maybe your feet want to stretch out in front of you, or you could get another knees to chest hug. And then the second side twist as you're ready. So what you're going to do here, now you're going to reach down and grab your left foot with your right hand. And that's going to come up behind you. And then your left hand to your right foot. Then you twist over and roll your right shoulder over to the floor. Pulling your left foot up behind you and pressing your right foot into your left hand. Again, your right leg might need to be bent here. And you might need to just let go of your hands here. If you feel like there's any discomfort in your spine, it could just be that you're set off on an angle, so you want to kind of lift your head and take it over in line with your hips. So if your hips are on the left side of your mat, your head should also be on the left side of your mat, not remaining in the middle of your mat. Take the next few moments here, just like the first side, to notice how the shape in your body is affecting your breath. And then it's okay to notice the differences between sides. I'm just observing how one side feels different. And just a couple more breaths here before we come back into a reclining posture. So take a couple little inhale, exhale combos to expand your rib cage and prepare for movement. And when you're ready, you can let go of your feet and you can start to pull yourself back into center, onto the back of your mat, and hug your knees into your chest. And then again, you might want to just stretch your arms overhead. You might want to stretch your legs out in front of you. You could land in constructive rest for a few moments if that feels better to your body. Reach your arms above head maybe, and just let your body, just feel the elongation in your torso without any extra work, without any extra stretch. Just being here in this comfortable position. All right, so we're going to set up for Shavasana. You can grab a bolster. So I've got to tell you, when I practiced this, this was probably the most impatient and irritable Shavasana that I was ever in. I was also very cold. So make yourself comfortable. It's just not worth suffering through 5 minutes of torture just to say you did a Shavasana, just to say you did this posture, this practice. So get yourself comfortable, pillow your head, warm yourself up as you need with a blanket or any extra layers. If you need to come to seated, if you need to lie on your belly, if you need to warm your hands up by sticking them under your butt, that's what I was doing. God, it was so cold. But take the next few moments, eye pillow, and then as you exhale, just surrender to the earth here. Let the floor hold your body. Let your awareness move to the points on the floor of support. So you can feel the back of your body supported by the floor, the bolster, the blankets. And you can feel the front of your body softening over those points of support. And breathing into those soft areas, connecting even more to the supported areas, and feeling safe and content here. All right, yogi, start to stretch out as you're ready. If you've got more time to spare, stay. But as always, bow to you, tell yourself thank you. And I thank you for practicing with me today.